Hello and welcome to our daily sketching routine. It is Wednesday, December 18th, 2024. Today's topic will be the secret of preliminary artwork. And I wanted to call it that because, one, this is preliminary artwork. But before I get into it, welcome back if you are returning, and welcome if you're new. I sketch and post every day, and I use timers to stay focused and to build a daily sketching habit. So I'm going to start a 10-minute timer if you want to just use that to just have something to sketch along with. You're welcome to do that. But yeah, I started a timer. So I'll put a link in the description to the previous two videos, because I've been doing, I tend to do these series, like lately I've been doing that because it's a lot of information and it's good to kind of keep them together, the information together. So this was from yesterday's video, and then there's another one from the other day. And so if you feel like wanting more details, then you can look at those videos. But I also do my best to keep the information like focused, so you can just watch the one video if you want. It's up to you. This is from yesterday's video, and I just went in and added some shading and details and stuff, which is part of the process. First you have the sketch, and then the shading, and then detail, and then like final detail, which I call that kind of an extra step, because sometimes it's good to leave it alone, and then you may not need to do anything, or if you are gonna do something, you want to be very sure and very deliberate about the final details. But sometimes you don't need to, especially if a lot of it is just pretty loose and sketchy, but then you have some that are more detailed, then it already looks kind of finished. However, this to me is still preliminary art, so I wanted to talk about the so-called secret, as I'm calling it, because I feel like in a way it's kind of a secret. I mean, like I kind of have discovered it like just through trial and error and experience and stuff. So this was done on a separate sheet of paper, which is convenient because then I can use it as reference. And so I'm going to go over a couple of pages. So I'm not going to link to these videos, but if you search, or if you just kind of browse through the videos, I think it's in the figure drawing. It might be in the basic drawing. I think these videos are the current ones. I'm putting into like the basic drawing, I think. So I did several videos about this sketch page, and then I talked about this one. Like I made a little more progress on this, and so I'm going to use this for today. But if you are interested in these videos, I go into a lot more detail about them. But down here I was thinking I could put one of these goblin creatures in like this little area, and so it'll help me to talk about the idea of preliminary art, because that's basically what this is. And just generally speaking, I mean, that's what's going to be in my sketchbook. And so what I'll do is I'll sketch in like a goblin here, because the purpose of these pages was to show different figures interacting and how to sketch that from imagination. And in a way, like this was, I came up with this from imagination, but like I'm going to use it as reference. So it's like it kind of goes back and forth basically, and that's kind of how I tend to work. So I'm gonna sketch something here and then just kind of talk about like the idea of the secret of preliminary art or artwork. And I want to call it artwork because that's kind of what this is, where I mean there's an art to preliminary artwork and sketching and drawing and everything else, painting and stuff, and the artwork is like the thing that you're looking at. And as I do that, I'm going to start sketching, by the way. As far as like the tools, I'm just going to use, so on this page, so part of like the preliminary stuff is the tools that you use. So on this page, I'm using like a light marker. You can use a pencil and then ink over that, or in this case, I like the look of like the gray because I can go back in and kind of use it as shading. So yeah, just so you know that. But yeah, I'm just gonna do this in a way that is, to me, like kind of easy, but it may or may not be easy for you, so it might be helpful just to kind of see. So I'm gonna set it up in a way that kind of different than the other areas, because these other areas I sort of randomly doodled, just random stuff, like I didn't know what to expect. This one is kind of different. I'm gonna actually sketch in, like construct the figure of the goblin and whatnot. So I'm just gonna have them interact, in other words, and be loose about it also. So yeah, as I do that, just kind of get my sketching done for today. Yeah, one thing I've discovered, and part of that is because I've been doing these videos and just having like the opportunity to do these videos and focusing on it, is that this is all basically creating preliminary artwork, and it's just been really helpful because it takes a lot of the pressure from trying to finish, like do finished work, which is important. And I haven't really done a whole lot of finished work. I mean, maybe. And that's kind of what I'm saying, like it's just kind of a different approach because I'm used to doing like freelance work, and so you have to finish. But the thing is, a lot of like when stuff was finished was kind of based upon what other people decided. And so after a while, like I sort of got used to that, and after a while, I mean, I kind of got tired of that because I wanted to know like when it was finished. Or sometimes I would think, yeah, something is finished, but then they wanted changes. And so this is as much about me figuring out like how I want to do stuff. So that's part of it. So I call it a secret because maybe it's not a secret to others, but for me, it was something I had to discover for myself. So yeah, it's nice to be able to just kind of do my artwork the way that I want to. The other thing is it allows you to experiment with subject matter, with style, with technique and mediums. And then it gives you time to, because the other thing also, like when you're kind of just wanting to meet some kind of deadline, is I was never like that satisfied with the quality of the work, although it was good. And there's benefit also to just being able to complete like different pieces, and so it had its like benefits. So yeah, I'm just kind of, it's a mix of sort of doodling but also setting up the figure, and there's some construction in the sense that, like, just to get the scale correctly, but part of like the preliminary part is like this, where this is just an example, so like this is experimental. I mean, I like doing these montages, as I call them. So that's 10 minutes. I'm just gonna kind of stick with this, and I'll start another 10-minute timer. And so part of the idea is that to figure out your process, like what works for you. So I'm just gonna stick with this, and just kind of keep using this marker until I feel like I have something. Now, this is kind of like in between the really sketchy sketches, the thumbnails and stuff, the doodles, and then also going towards a more finished look, which is kind of the final drawing. And that's part of the secret of it, is that it really tells you a lot as the artist. It's just really helpful, because again, if you're doing stuff for a client, then, or for whoever, I guess it's kind of moving away from that. So to just do stuff that I want, and that looks the way that I want it to look, and then just letting people sort of make up their own mind whether they like it or not. And because I mean, it is kind of validating if you get paid, and then if it's good enough, but then sometimes it wasn't good enough, and it can kind of become like an excuse. Or sometimes you do actually want to work on something more, but for example, if it was freelance work, I mean, I'm not going to work on something I've already completed and gotten paid for. So yeah, like for me, that's just kind of where I'm at right now in my journey with art. Again, it's not to say that it was bad. Like it had its benefits. In a way, it helped me to just be more professional about stuff, and also to create without it gave me a direction. Like it gave me focus. But then also you have to kind of change with it's a lifelong journey, so you have to kind of change with the artwork, with your purpose. So yeah, I just wanted to sketch something. Now the thing with preliminary art or preliminary artwork is that you can leave it like this. So when I started this page, it was a lot looser. I didn't really have as much characters and detail and stuff, and I actually was a little bit stuck. And that's kind of the point, is that to get over like the fear of failure kind of thing, or not even failure, but like frustration, which is why I started this page. And you'll notice that in some ways this is a more like composed layout or composition. It has a bit more of a cohesiveness to it. But then after this, then I started working on these, just like the different steps. And the other thing is, like on this picture, I had to use some whiteout. So if you're using pen and ink, I mean, don't be afraid to use whiteout, you're gonna, again, it's preliminary. So then after doing that, like working on this page and then the recent stuff, it gave me ideas for this page. And again, all of it is just preliminary stuff, meaning it's incubating, is germinating. It's the idea of like the liminal state. If you've ever heard of that term, it's the in between. It's not quite like doodles, but it's not quite finished drawings either. So there's something, you have to take a different approach, be more open-minded about it, and I think there's something very creative about it, because it could really kind of, like when I look at this, for example, which I'll kind of wrap up the video working on this, and I'll talk about the process a little bit more. But yeah, this could kind of go like in many different directions. And I think it's important, or maybe like the secret that I've discovered for myself and maybe for others, it's that in between where being okay with fleshing something out and bringing it out from like the subconscious, because that's kind of what happened here, although it was sort of based upon conscious sort of decisions to like do these characters. So yeah, so that's like mainly what I wanted to say. And then the other thing is also just the process, like how to do it. So so you can see, I'll keep the camera at this level. Yeah, so this is how far I got with like the, just kind of like the drawing part of it. The tools, like I said, this marker, and I don't always do it, like I didn't do it that way here. You'll see that like it's a little bit different, but it's kind of nice to use like the lighter color. And looking for my pen, oh there it is. So what I like about using like these different colors is that I could go in with like a gray. So I have like the black felt tip pen and like a gray felt tip pen. And so I did this one with the black ink, but I can also just use the gray. So it's kind of nice to be able to do that. I like the look of it. And so in a way it'll help me to draw it, while at the same time giving me like another layer that I can go to add detail. So I could just use this kind of the way I use these other ones. It's kind of up to you. Also, like with this figure, I can just use this gray, and it won't compete with like this other character. So something to play around with. And also by doing it this way, you can look up reference to make it a little bit more accurate, while still coming up with your own designs. But so yeah, this is something you could play around with, give you some ideas. But I guess the point of the topic was just to talk about how like this is more important than I thought as far as just my own work and like how I do the work and stuff. Like it ended up being the secret, so to speak. But yeah, it ended up being pretty helpful for me. And then this way, I can start to flesh out the details, but then have like another layer that I can go add more like detail to it. So at this point, this is still the sketch stage. I think like I'm still sketching it out, meaning I'm not too worried about like the shading, but you can see like it kind of implies a little bit of shading, but that's just because that's probably gonna be shaded anyway. You could be kind of loose with it. So that's 10 minutes. So I'm gonna start a 5-minute timer and then wrap up this video. And then for the one in the back, you could still keep it lighter looking like this. So this might give you some ideas to how to do a sketchbook spread. Again, I have some other videos. I don't think I did specifically a video about this page. I might have shown it. But yeah, I went in and added more detail. But I just think this kind of thing just proved to be pretty helpful for me. And yeah, I'll keep working on this, and then before I sign off, I'm gonna thank you for joining me for today's daily sketch routine. Hopefully this will help you kind of bridge the gap between like something very sketchy to tightening it up, adding a bit more detail, but like not getting too stressed out about coming up with something perfect or finished, and also giving you some room to not only have your ideas but look up some reference to just make your own drawing look better rather than needing to like copy. And also kind of using, you can use different colored pens and markers and stuff, or like pencil. So yeah, I want to thank you for joining me today, and if you like these videos, please support the channel. I appreciate it, and until next time, keep on sketching.